Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Paradigm Paradox, continuing Ibuki's route. So, we were just chilling with Lizzie. She woke up. She good. She ain't dead now. Woo! And you know what? Unless in the finale route or in Rio's route, it goes differently, but like, she's never gonna die again now. Yay! I still have Tokio's route, even though we had to lose Lizzie. It's tough, but after slowly eating the soup, Lizzie said she was tired and laid down again. I quietly left the room, headed to the kitchen, and washed the bowl. I tidied up the room as well, but after that, there was nothing left to do, so I just sat and twiddled my thumbs for a bit. Maybe I should just go to bed. Still kind of early to go to sleep, though. I lay on the bed and wondered if I'd be able to get any sleep. After a little while, I still didn't feel sleepy at all. Instead, my mind churned with thoughts, making me feel more awake than ever. I can't sleep. There isn't really anything to do here. Maybe I should go outside. But it might be dangerous to go out alone, and what if I get lost? I guess I should be okay if I stick close by. It's a shame there's no, books. There probably is somewhere, but besides, it'd be more productive to look around than lie in bed wide awake. That's what I told myself as I headed out anyway. Sure is pitch black this time of night. The mantle at night seemed especially dark after stepping out of a bright building. But since the projection of the starry sky above me was still operational, there was enough light to see the path. It's amazing when you think about it. Despite being in ruins, the essential features of the colony are still intact. I headed down the path near the building while admiring the achievements of the colony engineers. I was initially on alert in case I needed to act fast in a surprise vector attack, but I soon realized I could relax a little. They're all sleeping, and so peacefully. I could hear the gentle sound of deep breathing coming from the beasts. It was a nice change from the usual feral roars and screeches. I made sure to keep my bearings as I walked down the path. Soon I was back near where we ate dinner. I was passing by a large tree when... Where are you going? Huh? I looked up in surprise and saw Moravia sitting in the tree. Oh, look, another CG of Moravia. Okay, you can't do all of Ibuki's CGs as Moravia, though. That's not fair. For a few speechless moments, I simply gazed at her. She's beautiful. I mean, it is a pretty CG, to be fair. Moravia always looked ethereal, but with the moon as her backdrop, she could have almost been an apparition. The same thing happened the first time I saw her at the academy. I got lost just looking at her. You surprised me when you vanished earlier. Where have you been? I never left your side. Well, I certainly never noticed. Maybe she was there the whole time and I just failed to perceive her. Why the need to conceal herself at all? It was beyond me. So where are you off to? If you want to look around town, it's best to do it in daylight, I think. That's not it. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to go for a walk. It's too early to go to bed. A lot happened and I can't relax. In that case, take a walk with me. Moravia's proposal surprised me. With you? Two's better than one, right? Moravia leapt gracefully down from the tree, ignoring my stunned stare. Here I am. When I looked at Moravia beside me, I felt like I'd just woken from a dream. The hazy feeling passed, and I realized the Moravia standing beside me was real flesh and blood. Come then. Okay. Moravia and I began to walk, wandering around with no set destination in mind. At one point, I inquired about a certain building, and Moravia explained its function, suggesting we visit in daylight sometime. We'd fought as enemies as recently as yesterday, but being with her felt oddly natural. Time passed pleasantly. By the way, Lizzie woke up earlier. She even managed to eat something, so I'm relieved she's doing okay. I couldn't have saved Lizzie by myself. Thank you for helping me. You're welcome. I'm glad to see you've perked up too. I'm fine. I wasn't injured or anything. But you had such a serious look on your face. You never smiled like you are now. I didn't realize how tense I'd been until Moravia pointed it out. She's right. I couldn't even crack a smile. Not until Lizzie woke up. It was like I had a heavy weight on my heart. I put my hand on my chest at the thought. Moravia grinned. It's nice to see you smile. Thanks. Feels nice too. And then let my gaze wander and noticed a Vector lying down, snoozing close by. Vectors are everywhere here. They seem like normal animals. Huh. I suddenly remembered that the Vectors attacked us at night. They should have been awake. Wait, the Vectors aren't nocturnal? No, not at all. But the Vector attacks were almost always at night, weren't they? Seems odd they'd be asleep right now. Oh, I see. Moravia approached a member of the herd and patted its neck. The Vector slumbered on, oblivious. Her gentle touch made it clear how much she loved the beasts. You said you can't sleep right. Well, some Vectors suffer from insomnia too. These sleepless Vectors invariably make their way to human colonies. Huh? Weren't you the one telling them to attack human settlements? I simply helped guide the Vectors who wanted to go to the colonies. Hyuga and Yukonami sometimes lead the Vectors for their purposes, but no one forces the Vectors to do anything. Everything they do is of their own free will. But I thought the Vectors weren't sentient. I mean, whenever they attack us, they just lash out like wild animals. They seem pretty mindless. Mindless to you, perhaps. I see. Moravia's eyes filled with sadness, and I nodded guiltily. But if you all aren't doing the planning, why did the Vectors come to the colony? I want to tell you. And to tell you everything. Everything? Everything about the Vectors, about this world, and everything you're oblivious to. Let's hang out tomorrow, Spacey. Agree to go. Ask for some time. I think we should agree to go. Yeah. I don't need time. I need to be with you so we can bond and form a romance. You know, with the man inside you. I hesitate momentarily. All right, I'll go with you, Moravia. A wise decision. Remember what you said before? You told me I know nothing, and at this rate I won't be able to save anyone. When Lizzie was attacked, I realized that I'm helpless to protect what matters most to me. So if I have a chance to fill in the gaps in my knowledge, I have to take it. I want to do whatever I can. See, it's like this, see, you told me I was, like, I'm innocent and naive and whatever, but it's like, I have gaps in my knowledge because of whatever. I want to fill those in. So she's not, you know what I mean? That's what I was saying in the last part. She is not naive in a stupid way. She is naive in the, I'm unaware of what my, government, whatever, is doing because I'm not privy to that knowledge and they kept it from me and, I didn't have all the pieces. You know what I mean? And then even becoming part of the Blooms, I'm going on what these people told me, taking it as fact without questioning it because, you can't live questioning everything. Yeah, there's going to be things you're like, seems a little sus, but I don't have all the pieces, but you can't be suspicious of everything. That's no way to live your life. You know what I mean? But, so, our innocence and everything like that, and quote-unquote being naive for things, is not because we're stupid. Sometimes with main characters, they're like, oh, you're so innocent and naive, and that's just a really nice way to be like, she's just fucking dumb. She's too dumb to function. You know what I mean? And it's like they're trying to spin it in a nice way, and no, she's fucking stupid. Straight up fucking dumb. Girl has to be reminded to breathe. Okay? And, in this case, you sometimes get this, thought process when they're like, oh, you're innocent and naive, that it's a negative thing. It's not, it's not normally, being innocent doesn't have to be, it can be negative, but it can also be positive. You know what I mean? It really just depends on the context. And the same thing with naivety, right? It's not necessarily bad. It's usually used in a negative connotation, but, it doesn't always have to be. Sometimes it's okay. You're gonna be naive about things. Everybody is. About something. One thing or another. You know what I mean? But it's just in the context of Otome games, or just games in general, the main characters are always innocent, I'm using air quotes here, you can't see them, and naive, and it's supposed to mean you're dumb as fuck. You know what I mean? It's no, she's stupid. You're trying to paint it like it's a nice thing, but this girl's dumb as fuck. our character is like actually like innocent and naive in a very like normal way. Like, I have no clue what's going on, and wow, yeah, no, you're right. I do have gaps in my knowledge. So you've told me that I have gaps in my knowledge, and you want to like fill those in? Absolutely, I'm going to listen because I want to know what's going on. And I realize that like I'm not equipped right now where I am to protect Lizzie, and like holy shit, you know what I mean? She's not like, whatever. You have to open a door before you go through it. I'm not a ghost. Where you're like, how did you ever survive this long? Seriously. You know what I mean? Like, it's very normal and natural. I think it's just because they use those terms so much as like, oh, you're innocent, instead of being like, no, she fucking stupid. Like, so that it's like, when you hear them, you're like, oh, great, they're calling me stupid. And it's like, well, okay, in this case, no. No, they actually just, their face value, they mean what they mean. And they're not trying to like cover up and try to say nicely that she's too dumb to function, too stupid to breathe, you know? So she's kind of taking them sometimes like, ouch, are you judging me? And it's like, well, yeah, but at the same time, there's no reason why you should know this stuff yet, So Maravia's eyes widened with surprise, and then she smiled gently. You're much more courageous than I initially gave you credit for. Learning the truth can be terrifying. Sometimes it's easier to remain ignorant. But it seems you've steeled yourself for whatever awaits, All right, then. I'll tell you everything, if that's what you truly want. Thank you, Moravia. Very well, then. If we're going out tomorrow, then we should have an early night. A lot's happened, and you must be tired. Didn't I just fucking say I wasn't, bitch? Just kidding. Yeah, I am kind of tired. I'll see you back to your room. Thank you. We headed back the way we came, being careful not to wake the sleeping Vectors. And then Moravia goes, isn't it the room that Ibuki's in? Oh, yeah. Oh my god, are you lovers? She just laughs. Sometimes, because it gets lonelier. I'm just kidding. Sweetie, what do you do? Morning already? I felt disoriented for a moment from waking up in a strange room. Oh, right. I'm at the colony that Moravia and the others live in, and they're letting me stay in this room. Last night I practically collapsed into bed. I was out as soon as my head hit the pillow, putting an end to my short-lived insomnia. I guess I was much more tired than I thought, just like Moravia said. I sat up in bed and realized my body felt lighter than it did the other day. I know that I had the headset on, but I know you can hear the birdies on the TV and you're not even reacting to them. You hear birdies on TV sometimes? You hear strange squeaky noises and you think it's birdies. Do you hear those birdies? You know what? You know when I'm talking to you, because now you're all awake and fidgety. You were being very silent and quiet. I thought for sure... Oh, you're just clucking at me. I thought for sure you'd hear the birdies and start chirping to them. But you don't want to chirp to the birdies? You don't want to talk to the birdies on TV? He's like, those are fucking not even real birds. I'm serious. You talk to chocobos in Final Fantasy VII. You try to talk to the chocobos. But these are like chirpy, chirpy, chirp birds, and you don't want to talk to them? Sometimes there's just like... Well, okay, that's not the same thing, but anyway. Wait a second. Where does Moravia live? I wonder if she's in another room in this building. I'll ask her when I see her today. You're going to see her coming out of Ibuki's room and then be like... I tidied myself up before going to see Lizzie. She was sleeping soundly, clearly still a long way from being fully recovered. It'd be actually... I would laugh. I mean, I doubt they'd do anything like that, but it'd be so fucking funny if, like, she hangs around with Ibuki a little bit more and then sees Moravia coming out of Ibuki's room and then it's like, I don't know why I'm so jealous of this. And it's like... Because they're the same person, but then she's like, are they dating each other? Why am I jealous? I decided to leave her alone, hoping she'd show marked improvement soon. I washed my face, got changed, and then sat down by the window with a sigh. Moravia invited me to go out with her today, so she'll probably come by to pick me up. I should sit tight and wait. I gazed distractedly out the window and saw some Vectors not too far off. It's my first time seeing them during the day. They seemed friendly enough as they bumbled about together and napped in the sun. Somehow watching them made me feel soothed. They're like big cats. Now that I'd seen the Vector's sweet side, I felt like I could identify with Moravia's soft spot for them. She said there are things I don't know, but I wasn't even sure exactly what knowledge I was lacking. What was Moravia going to tell me? My curiosity was mixed with fear. You think she's going to come as Moravia or as Ibuki? I felt like everything I took for granted until now could potentially be turned upside down. It made me nervous. Where will Moravia take me? Somewhere within Tao or outside. I don't want to go too far without Lizzie. Yeah, it's Ibuki. Is something interesting out there? Yeet! He scared me half to death! His voice came out of nowhere when I thought I was completely alone. No wonder I jumped and shrieked. That was a pretty amusing sound. Yeah, it was. No need to smirk while pointing it out. This marked the second time Ibuki took me by surprise. Just couldn't sense his presence even when he was right next to me. It's not that I'm mad at Ibuki, but this sort of thing isn't good for my blood pressure. So, anything interesting going on outside? You were really focused on the window. I was just watching the vectors. You're probably used to them, but for me they're a fascinating sight. When I talked with Moravia last night, she said I don't know anything. I was just mulling over that while looking at them. I told Ibuki what I was honestly thinking, to which he chuckled and nodded. So that's what you were up to. Moravia said she'd take me somewhere today. I don't know where she plans on going, though. You'll know soon enough. Shall we head out, then? I like how he's just talking as if we fucking know that he's Moravia, and he knows damn well we have no clue, and he's just like, let's go then, and you're like, but I thought Moravia was, yeah. And then, like, she's like, where'd you go last night? I was always right by your side, and he's just straight up telling you, and she's just like, whoosh, right over her head. Because, again, why would you assume, like, you don't know that, like, you knew that the blooms transformed, just like you did, right? So I suppose somewhere in your head she probably thinks Moravia transforms into magical girl form. But she doesn't know. Moravia could just be Moravia. You know what I mean? Like, you know the blooms are magical girls. But even in that case, the thought of one of these guys in school is transforming into a magical girl is not the first thing you would think. You're like, I'm going to look for a girl that looks like the magical girl that I'm friends with. Not, I'm going to look for a guy who looks like he could be related to the magical girl that I'm friends with. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even crossing your mind. Although, to be fair, she kind of in her head was like, Ibuki and Moravia are similar. First clue right there. Maybe they're similar. And then she just totally forgot and whatever. And she was overwhelmed by a bunch of stuff, so you can kind of understand. But at the same time, you're like, girl, come on. Like, I can't blame her for being clueless, though. Because again, the first thing you meet this cute boy and you got this girl over here and you're like, oh, you're not she might not even be thinking Moravia is a magical girl. Moravia is just Moravia, you know? Even if she was, she'd be thinking the exact same way Blooms. Okay, someone that looks like Moravia, just not wearing the little Sailor Scout uniform, basically. Okay? And then Ibuki's around and you're like, you would not think, even if you're like, they're similar, I wonder if they're related. You wouldn't think, I wonder if they're the same person. Like, does he transform into a girl? Why would that ever be your first thought? What I mean? Huh? But Moravia's coming to get me. Yes, of course. So let's get going. I wanted to stay in the room. Moravia was probably on her way after all, but Ibuki took my hand and headed toward the door. Yes, of course. What does that even mean? I made plans to go out with Moravia, but he's acting like he's the one who invited me. It felt weird, but then again, Ibuki did have a tendency to speak in riddles. Maybe his remark was just another Ibuki-ism. Ibuki-isms. But see, it's like stuff like this. Like, he's not really speaking in riddles. He's just being vague about the truth. He's like, yeah, you're like, Moravia's coming to get me. Let's go. Of course, let's go. Like, and you're like so confused. And the same thing with Moravia. I never left your side. She really never did leave our side, to be fair. Oh, maybe he's going to take me to breakfast like Moravia did yesterday. What's wrong? Nothing. He's so fucking pretty. I was sure Moravia would show up once we reached the courtyard for breakfast. Also, I mean, to be fair, yeah, okay, the hair. Okay, even if they had the same hair color. You really don't think that you'd clue in that, like, they're definitely, like, they'd be twins or something with the fucking eyes? It's not even like they both have blue eyes. He has heterochromia, for God's sakes. That is not something that you see every day. Okay? So, like, you know, so you'd think if you're seeing this guy, and then they have the exact same eye color and the exact same hair color, that maybe something would clue you in that yeah, not that they're the same person, but like they're definitely twins or something. Because like you've got to be related. How do you have the exact same hair and eye color? You know? It's different with the Blooms. I mean, I suppose we're not supposed to think his hair's actually pink. And like maybe like Mihaya's hair's not supposed to actually be like seafoam green. Or that's supposed to be normal. But you know what I mean? Like everybody else at least had like brown hair, dark hair, and like whatever. Kamui's eyes were technically a very dark purple color, but you know, for all intents and purposes, sometimes in a lot of games, like in Persona 5, right? Everybody's hair, even though it's like brown, except for On. But like everybody, and Ryuji because he dyed his hair, but like everybody's hair, like Yusuke did not have blue hair. It was supposed to be like that black hair that's got that blue sheen to it. Everybody's hair was like some shade of like black or brown, right? And same thing with their eyes, but they had to give them slightly different. So you got gray over here and that just so that they don't actually look all like everybody looks exactly the same. But they were still supposed to be Japanese people, and like Japanese people tend to have like darker hair and eyes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but when even you come to dark hair, like brown and black hair, there's a lot of variations in that. And even like brown eyes, there's a lot of variations in brown eyes. You've got lighter brown eyes, you've got black eyes, you know? So like that's what they did with that coloring, you know what I mean? It's just the coloring of the characters was like the variation in different shades of black and brown, right? And then most Otome games, it's like, okay, they're just whatever. You're just whatever. Even if you live in like Tokyo in a game, you got this guy's got blue hair, that one's got pink hair, that one's got neon green, and you're just supposed to it's normal. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I suppose we're not supposed to look like, oh, a guy with like pink hair is like unusual. Okay? It's supposed to just be normal. I suppose it's supposed to be blonde. Maybe. Who knows? Right? This is pink. But heterochromia would stand the fuck out. That's not normal in any sense of the word. I mean, that sounds weird, but you know what I mean? It's not like half the population is heterochromia. It's not like blonde hair and blue eyes. Oh yeah, you're bound to see. So like, if you met a guy that has blonde hair and blue eyes and then another girl that's got blonde hair and blue eyes, you'd be like, they're related. Of course not. You wouldn't make that assumption, but you know, so okay, aside from the pink hair, but heterochromia, you should have clued in that there's something odd about that, you know? Anyway. Reassured, I let Ibuki lead me out of the room. He guided me out to the sun while maintaining hold of my hand. The vectors continue to wander calmly like they'd been when I watched from the window. Ibuki and I weaved between them. Are we headed to the courtyard? Guess we'll be eating breakfast soon. I was no longer confident we were going to the courtyard, but Ibuki never slowed as he led me along. It's going to be another fine day. Yeah. The colony had no real sky, just a dome, so good weather was a given. I decided it wasn't worth pointing that out. Besides, I had another question on my mind that needed answering. Hey, can I ask you something? What is it? Is the hand-holding necessary? I like how her hand is just not gripping his, it's just, he's holding my hand and you're just letting him hold your hand instead of holding his hand back. It's kind of cute. But like, yes, let him hold my hand. Ibuki hadn't let go of my hand since we left the building. It made sense at first. He wanted me to follow him. But was it still needed now? It's getting a little weird, to be honest. Not to mention embarrassing. Necessary? No, not really. Then... But I don't see a reason to let go either. I guess you have a Wait, hey! That's totally flawed logic! I don't see anything flawed about it. Ibuki didn't seem the least bit fazed by my bewildered denial. Do you not enjoy walking like this? It's not really a question of enjoying it or not. It's just, I can walk perfectly fine by myself. Then a fine solo walk will be great, with two. Ibuki seemed unable to pick up exactly what I was putting down. He probably knows he's just avoiding it. Ugh, this is so weird. I know I'm talking sense, but I can't bring myself to push the issue. I decided to drop the matter altogether, even though giving up hurt my argument, and so I let Ibuki continue to hold my hand. The more we walked, the more clearly I began to notice something. His hand is so warm. Warmth, human warmth, emanated from the hand wrapped around mine. It reminded me that we were both alive, but there was something different, too. His hand, it's pretty big. I never held hands with a boy before, so I never had a reason to think about it. But men's hands really were bigger than women's. The size difference was really apparent. I like how she's like, notice she's like, I've never held hands with a boy before, and oh my god, wait a minute. Like, his hand's slender with long fingers, but it has a surprising amount of muscle. Curiosity overtook my modesty, and I suddenly found myself squeezing his hand and marveling at its feel. See, she felt hard and fast, too. She's like, wow, his hand is nice and pretty. And it's like, see? Is there something up with my hand? Sorry, it's just unusual to me. Unusual how? It's just different from my hand is all. Remember what I told you yesterday? I'm different from everyone else. I remember, but that's not what I'm trying to say. I was at a loss for words, unsure of how to explain further. Ibuki thoughtfully dropped his gaze down to our clasped hands and regarded them for a moment. True, they are different, Yours is small. Oh, and there's a term for this. What is it again? I kept quiet while Ibuki lost himself in thought. We resumed walking until we reached where we ate dinner yesterday. But Ibuki walked right on by without a second glance. I turned to him, alarmed. Hold on, aren't we going to eat breakfast here? Breakfast? To be fair, Ibuki never suggested we were going to do anything of the sort. I'd made my own assumption. You were heading toward the courtyard, so I thought we were going to eat. Are we skipping breakfast? I hadn't decided either way, but are you hungry? I put a hand on my stomach. Yeah, I think I am a little. And then you can eat this. Ibuki pulled out a bag of plain crackers, the kind you could buy in any store in Theta. You're okay if I eat them? Sure, I'm good. I took the bag of crackers and inspected it. I'm not really sure how he obtained something like this. But if crackers aren't rare here, I guess it means they have everything they need. Thanks, I'll give them a try. I thought it'd be rude to eat and walk, so I pointed to a nearby pile of rubble. Ibuki and I sat down. I opened the bag of crackers and popped one in my mouth. It was light, yet crunchy, and salty, with a pleasant hint of sweetness. They're good. Ibuki waited patiently until I'd finished all the crackers, eating crackers without having anything to drink with them. That hits the spot. Thanks again. I stood up and Ibuki took my hand once more. All right, let's continue. But where are we going? I already made plans. Right, last night. Plans to go out today. How do you know about that? I made those plans with Moravia. Right, so let's go. Hey, hold on. Like I keep saying, I made those plans with Moravia. I never said I'd go anywhere with you. A promise to Moravia is a promise to me. Huh? What are you... Then a crazy thought popped into my head. Are Ibuki and Moravia the same person? I'd already noticed how similar they were, and the wording Ibuki used made it easy to believe he actually was Moravia. Is that even possible? No way. One's a guy and one's a girl. Plus their builds are totally different, and Ibuki couldn't pull off that kind of disguise. I shook my head to banish my unfounded theory. While I was busy with my head in the clouds, I heard of vectors charge past. Yikes! They pack a lot of power, don't they? And where are they off to? I like, though, that she's like, are they the same person? That's crazy. But, like, hey, now she finally thought it, you know? I felt a sense of foreboding as soon as the words left my mouth. Ibuki verified my fears. They're going to a human colony. I felt like I'd been drenched in cold water. The vectors around here were so docile, I'd almost forgotten how dangerous they are. After all those battles, you'd think I'd appreciate their violent capabilities. We can't let them attack humans. We need to stop them. That's why we're going with them. Huh? I won't let the vectors attack Theta today, but I want to show you something in return. Show me something? Like what? And could I trust that he wouldn't let the vectors attack Theta? Even if Ibuki's lying to me, I'll do whatever's necessary to stop the vectors. All right, I'll go with you. Ibuki smiled, pleased with my answer. We chased after the charging vectors as quickly as possible. It won't be long before we're outside the colony. I should transform. That should do it. What about Ibuki? I peeked over to Ibuki. He hadn't changed and seemed fine with what he was wearing. It wasn't surprising that he didn't need to wear any protective gear. He told me earlier that he might be more like a vector than a human. So now this is curious. I'm wondering, I figured, like everyone else, he had to transform to Moravia to be outside. But maybe Ibuki can go outside without protect. I don't think we've ever seen Ibuki outside the colonies. You know what I mean? He said he's not a normal human. I hope I learn about Ibuki's true form when he fills me in on everything else. We passed through the outer wall and exited the colony. If we turn around and it's Moravia. So fast. There was a lot of open space outside the colony, so the vectors kicked up their speed. Ibuki ran along nonchalantly, occasionally shooting me a concerned glance. He wasn't even running at top speed. Okay, so there's that answer. Ibuki does not need to turn into a magical girl to go outside. Wow, he doesn't seem tired at all. I guess it is what it is, but it's a bit annoying. What? That's not it? The vectors increased their speed yet again. Soon they'd pull too far ahead and we'd be unable to keep up. You gotta be kidding me! I'd never run so fast in my life. My lungs felt like they were made of fiery sandpaper, and I let a complaint slip out between puffs. Are you all right? Yeah, never been better. Ibuki was clearly concerned about me, but my response came out as self-assured. Oh, good. Can you run a bit faster? What? Faster than this? Well, the vectors are speeding up again. I followed Ibuki's gaze and saw that the vectors were indeed getting further away. He's right. How do they have so much stamina? I'm at my limit. I can't... Or perhaps this is your max. I feel like we should admit that this is my limit, but... I can still push on as all... I don't know. Both of them are good, though. Yeah, okay, admitting. That's right. I'm giving it all I've got. Giving it all that she's got, Captain. Frustrated, I snapped back at Ibuki. I turned my head in shame when... I get it. Leave it to me. Before I could blink, Ibuki had scooped me up in his arms. Please give me a CG of him princess carrying me. Fuck yeah, I love it. Except for the fact that it's jiggling because he's running, but I love it. Hey, put me down! I'm holding on tight. Don't worry. That's not the issue. I can run just fine on my own. We'll lose sight of the vectors if we keep going at your pace, unfortunately. But aren't I too heavy? Not at all. You're light as a feather. That might be overdoing it a bit. Still, Ibuki wasn't having any trouble carrying me. He wasn't even out of breath. I love how, like, it's always the tiny wafy girls who are like, aren't I heavy? You weigh like 4 pounds. Like, now my ass, when you try to carry me, aren't I heavy? Then I'd be impressed you can lift my ass. You know what I'm saying? But, like, what does she weigh? Like 85 pounds soaking wet? Like, because you know it's not just she's tiny, she's also small. She's short, so she's petite, probably. You know what I mean? She's not like 5'9" and 200 pounds. You know? Like, girl's like 5'2" and weighs like 90. So, like, seriously. Like a nimble deer, he evaded trees, rough terrain, and piles of rubble. It was almost as if we were flying. Amazing. All right, I'll let Ibuki carry me, or else we might fall too far behind. Plus, I mean, come on, just let the pretty man carry you. I tentatively wrapped my arms around his neck, thinking it might be easier for him. And that's good. Just like that. Hold on tight. Then Ibuki put on a sudden burst of speed. I clung on to him tight, alarmed. Wow, he doubled his speed again. I'm nowhere near his level. With nothing to do except enjoy the ride, I snuck a peek at Ibuki as he stared ahead. He really is handsome up close. Yeah, he is. He's handsome from far away. From this distance, I could observe every detail. His fair skin, his straight nose, his mysterious, sorrowful eyes framed by delicate lids and long eyelashes. His eyes are different colors. I think that's called heterochromia. They're lovely. It's like she only noticed now his eyes are different colors. You've been looking at him for like days. Ibuki must have sensed me staring at him because he looked back at me. We gazed into each other's eyes and I felt my cheeks grow red. You're beautiful. What? I just been thinking the same thing about him, but it shocked me to hear him be the one saying it about me. He didn't seem embarrassed either. I mean, I'm blushing. But beautiful? I don't think I'm anything to write home about. Maybe his perspective's warped because Hyuga, Yukonami, and Moravia are so stunning? While I was deep in my thoughts, we arrived at an isolated spot far from Tao. It seems like a good time to stop then. Ibuki leapt into the air with me still in his arms and descended right in front of the vectors. Now we were in their path. Is it a good idea to land here? The Vectors could trample us like cattle. Ibuki gently set me down on the ground, and I started to panic a little. Ibuki, if we stand here... Before I could finish my thought, Ibuki smiled and started walking toward the Vectors. Stay behind me. He's fearless. My breath caught my throat as I watched, but I realized I had nothing to fear as long as Ibuki was with me. He's fearless and gorgeous, and he wears his jacket like a cape. I'm just saying. Throw glasses on him and he'd be like a 12 out of 10. Hey, we got Tokyo to wear glasses and cute little barrettes, so that's all I needed. Ibuki raised one hand in front of him as though gesturing to the Vectors to stay. Although he's got heterochromia, so that's a bonus. So that's as good as glasses for me. Ibuki, what are you doing? Because there's usually a glasses character. They like doing glasses, like, let's be real. Like, it's like, not all the time, but they're more often than not, you know what I mean? But like, heterochromia is like rare in Otome games, so. Ibuki, what are you doing? Is he gonna use psychokinesis? I can sense an enormous force coming from his body, even though I'm behind him. The Vectors charged in unison. I dropped into a battle stance behind Ibuki and held my breath. That's odd. Did Ibuki just flicker? What? I watched, speechless, as Ibuki's entire form shimmered. Suddenly, Ibuki was no longer there, and Moravia stood in his place. Ooh, now she knows. Moravia? I gasped in disbelief. Moravia turned to me and smiled. Ibuki was Moravia all along? I couldn't believe it, but I also couldn't deny it. Even as I stared in disbelief, a part of me realized it all made sense. I thought it was just a wild theory, but it's true. They're the same person. Both of them possess an otherworldly air. Yeah, it makes total sense. And they're both beautiful. While my mind churned over the revelation, the Vectors Moravia was holding her hand out to had come to a stop and settled down. Oh, phew! They stopped! Not quite. Look, one Vector is split from the herd. Huh? I followed Moravia's gaze just in time to see one Vector break away from the group. It started running again, clearly intent on getting to Theta. We have to stop that one too! Moravia, please, use your power again! I wanted Moravia to repeat the stay move she used to calm down the other Vectors, but her response shocked me. You give it a go this time. Me? But I can't! I don't have powers like yours! That's just what you think. You've never actually tried, have you? Just do as I did. You'll be fine. I couldn't do anything remotely like that, but Moravia made me want to try at least. In any case, I figured if I had Moravia as backup, I had nothing to lose. There's no time to hesitate. Just give it a try. It's better than nothing. Heck, just think of it as some hands-on learning. I summoned my courage and faced the charging Vector, blocking its route to Theta. Then I raised my hand like Moravia, firmly planting my feet, took a deep breath. Stop. I had no idea what I was doing. I gathered all my willpower and focused on the one word. Stop. Stop. Stop! When I shouted, the world blurred. Everything around me seemed to vanish except for the charging Vector. Yes, that's it. I had no idea what I'd just done. When the world returned to my field of vision, the Vector was standing calmly before me. It stopped for me. I did that? Yep, you did good. Moravia came to stand beside me. She smiled at me, and I felt my muscles relax. There's so much I want to ask, but right now... So you and Ibuki are one and the same. I just blurted it right out. I think I was high on my success. I tried not to sound surprised, but Moravia threw me an exasperated look. That's what I've been saying this whole time. No you haven't. I mean, in a very roundabout, cryptic way. I thought I was quite clear. You say that, but... I thought back to our awkward conversations. I couldn't recall if Moravia or Ibuki gave any indication. Maybe I missed it. By the way, where did Moravia go? It'll be me from now on. Wait, is that what he meant? Was that him or, her telling me? That was pretty cryptic. See? Oh, dear. Are you angry with me? I'm not angry, it's just you said it'll be me from now on. How on earth was I supposed to know what that meant? I mean, boys typically don't turn into girls on the fly or vice versa. Can you see why I'd be confused? Is that what you think? It's what most people think. Moravia really is strange, but I feel like I'm starting to get used to her weirdness. Yikes. I was beginning to feel lightheaded, but there was no time to rest. Well, shall we have our discussion about why I brought you out here? You'll explain properly this time? I've already been explaining properly. Her throwaway comments hardly counted as explaining properly. No matter, if we're settling down to chat. And then this form is better. Moravia transformed to Ibuki in a snap, just like before. Hi, Ibuki. And no need to greet me. I've always been here. True, but it still feels kind of surreal, even when you transform right in front of me. Why is it better for you to talk to me as Ibuki? Isn't it easier for you to walk around as Moravia? And not necessarily. I'm Ibuki as much as I am Moravia, but I like to switch things up. There you go. That's how you get your kinks on in the bedroom with Ibuki. Sometimes he just switches it up and likes to play with you as Moravia. So now you can have your boyfriend and your girlfriend. He's everyone's bisexual dream, I guess. How to put this? After using Moravia's power for a while, it feels good to change to Ibuki. It's relaxing. Are you saying you need to be Moravia in order to use your powers? It used to be that I naturally shifted to Moravia whenever I needed my powers, but now I can use them as Ibuki without any issue. That said, I feel more powerful when I'm Moravia. Old habits die hard, I guess. I'm wondering, I feel like he's definitely different, so I feel like he should be exempt from the loses your power when you fall in love kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because he was genetically created in a lot, like, you know what I mean? He is different from everyone else and is 10 times stronger, you know? So you turn into Moravia when you're feeling fired up. And that's an interesting way of putting it. I guess that's why she was always Moravia when she launched an attack on Theta. Since both Moravia and Ibuki are me, I generally just switch back and forth to suit my mood. Oh, so that's why you kept appearing as one and then the other. You can shift between them with ease. I wondered what their connection was. Can't believe they're the same person. My hunch was way out there, but it turns out I was right. A tiny grin crept onto my face. Turns out my intuition was sharper than I thought. What are you smirking about? I'm smiling, not smirking. It's the same thing, isn't it? Ibuki reached out and stroked the head of the Vector before us, just like Moravia did. It was so aggressive just moments ago, but now it's like a well-trained dog. Here, take a look into its eyes. Its eyes? I went up beside Ibuki and nervously looked into the eyes of the Vector I'd stopped with my powers. I'd never seen one so close. Its eyes were strange, almost blank, like glass marbles, but they were filled with warmth, too. I found myself saying my thoughts out loud. It looks sad somehow. What is it looking at? I feel like it looks sad somehow. Ah, save file. First save file for Ibuki. Oop. I feel like it's still okay. Yeah. It looks sad somehow. And that's how it makes you feel, huh? I realized that all of the Vectors, not just this one, were gazing in the same direction. I thought they were mindless beasts, but at that moment their eyes seemed mournful to me. And do you know what they're looking at? Well, in that direction there's only one thing. Theta. The Vector's target. That was the only landmark they could possibly be staring at. It looks like you've figured it out. But why do the Vectors seem so sad? Ibuki's response was quick. They long for human company. They're lonely? I felt a tightness in my chest. The Vectors were humans once. Yeah, you're humans once. You knew that already, right? For now, yes. But anyone attacked by a vector will turn into one. Didn't you know that? Yeah, you told me. I think vectors are attracted to colonies because they retain some trace of their human emotions. They have no memories guiding them, just vague feelings. So I think they're trying their best to get close to humans. If they miss humans, why do they attack us? They don't mean to hurt anyone. Ibuki looked sad as he pet the vector. They don't understand what's happened or what they've become. They don't want to be violent. They just want to be with humans. Unfortunately, the result is that humans get harmed. The poor things. It's interesting because, like, you get a little more depth into it. Like, we kind of knew, like, they want to be around humans, and, like, we knew that they were humans, and they kind of were still trying to, like, they kind of had this vagueness, like, a little bit of this in one of the earlier routes. Like, they want to be around humans. They don't understand what happened to them. They're trying to get back into the colony because they were originally people from Theta, so there's something in them that's trying to get back in there, and they're not purposely trying to hurt humans. But then there was also the Ibuki and Hyuga and Yukonami were leading them to purposely attack, but Ibuki or Moravia specifically earlier said, actually, we don't. They just go on their own. So it's like, you know what I mean? So, okay, well, he did say that Yukonami and Hyuga sometimes do take them to go attack on their own, but Moravia's never led them to go attack. You know what I mean? But that was always the understanding in the Blooms that these three are leading the vectors and attacking, and Moravia's like, I never do that, actually. I might pop up when they're there, but I'm never bringing them. They're either going on their own, or Yukonami and Hyuga might lead them to attack because, you know, they're a little fucked in the head, you know? So there's like a little more to it than just, you know, Yukonami and Hyuga's anger and hatred and taking the vectors, and the vectors are attacking, but they don't want to attack, but, You mean vectors attack humans because they're desperate for their company? What a heart-wrenching, hopeless story. Ibuki spoke so sympathetically about the vectors that I started to share his sentiments. No, I can't get swept up in my feelings. So many people Theta suffer because of the vectors' attacks. I thought about Lizzie, who was attacked directly by one of the vectors and narrowly dodged becoming one herself. I can't just dismiss what they did out of pity. But what about the people who've been hurt? Lizzie was seriously injured, and it could have been much worse. I get it. I want to sympathize with the vectors, but we can't simply let them attack humans. But if Lizzie had become a vector, you'd feel sympathy toward her in that state, wouldn't you? In that scenario, you'd end up feeling bad for a vector, just like I do. I don't know about that. I guess I would. I mean, honestly, I guess I would, because think about how awful we felt about killing her when she was a vector. You know what I mean? We weren't like, nah, fuck it, she was a monster, and she could have hurt other people. We were like, I hated having to do that, so I think we would feel bad for her in that state. Yeah. I guess I would feel the same. I tried to picture what would happen if Lizzie really did turn into a vector. Poor Lizzie. It was too sad to think about. I find myself empathizing despite my position. I guess I can't help how I feel. It's hard to have a firm stance on this. Whenever I try to look at it differently, my resolve wavers all over the place. Also, like, there's probably something like the vectors want to be close to humans, but then also, if there's a loneliness in this that they don't understand and they want to be close to humans, but then it's like, oh, they're not trying to attack, but maybe in a way they kind of are. Like, because you would think you're now in this beast form, you don't really have any semblance of who or what you were, but there's just something inside you that's like, I want to be there with people. I know I belong with people, right? There's probably also some kind of lingering, like, I used to be one of those people once, you know, which could explain, like, why they're not just lumbering over. They're like, hey, what's up? They're attacking because there's still, like, a fear and an anger that of the people variety deep down inside that they don't comprehend as vectors. You know what I mean? Like, and if you think about it, think about, like, wild animals. Like, if you're watching them from a distance, you're like, oh, look at that bear lumbering through the woods. It's minding its own business. And then you go approaching it, and it's like, ah! Trying to scare you away. It's not attacking you because bears just want to eat people. It's attacking you because you're in its territory, and it's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Defending, freaked out a little. So if vectors have something deep inside of them that's still like drawing them to humans because somewhere deep in their animal brains now they know I used to be human, I need to be close to humans or something, and they don't get it, wouldn't they also still have the fear and a little bit of anger for like what happened to them? That's, you know what I mean, deep down inside, and that's where the attack scenario comes from, that they're not doing it really on purpose. But like there's just something that's triggering that, especially in Theta, because in Tau they're fine, but it's because nobody here hurt them, you know? And again, they're not thinking of it logically because they don't have logic anymore, so. It's hard to have a firm stance on this. Whenever I try to look at it differently, my resolve wavers all over the place. I fell silent, unsure of what to say. Ibuki kindly dropped the subject. He didn't seem interested in forcing me to agree. Rather, he just wanted to share his own view and have me consider both sides. Who's more deserving of sympathy, then? Vectors or humans? Ibuki muttered under his breath. He wasn't seeking a response, but his words resonated. Who does deserve more sympathy? Innocent humans who get hurt, or vectors who attack because they're so lonely? Both sides were victims of unfortunate circumstances. It was tragic either way. I don't know. I looked at the vectors who resemble humans but aren't. These vectors were all people once. What kind of lives did they live? What happened to their families and friends? It pained my heart to think about. Regardless of the reason, humans turning into vectors is a terrible thing. I thought about how lonely the vectors must be. After gazing into their eyes, it was impossible to think they had evil intent. Everything I'd thought about them had been turned upside down. I trembled, a deep sense of unease rushing over me. What's wrong? Are you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Hey, why did you stop the vectors here? Why let them get this close instead of preventing them from leaving at all? It would be easy to stop them, but given their circumstances, it feels cruel. I want to let them get as close to humans as possible. I see. The vector's plight and Ibuki's kindness both made me feel terribly sad. There's still so much I don't understand, but there's one thing I do know. As long as vectors keep attacking humans and changing them into more vectors, this vicious circle will never break. I don't agree with that. I looked at Ibuki, surprised by his sudden rebuttal. His eyes were full of pity. Even if the vectors didn't attack humans, the cycle of misfortune wouldn't stop. What do you mean? There's something else you have to know. And the answer will come after. Because at first I'm like, you don't agree? I'm like, but no, valid. Because it's like, I kind of forgot about that too. He's like, the cycle's not going to stop. Right, because even if vectors stop attacking humans, the researchers are still going to keep making more vectors and making a bigger problem. You know what I mean? So it's like the vectors attacking humans and making more, like, you're still, and then, like, to be fair, the vector, there's still just going to be more and more vectors because they're just going to keep creating them. So there's still, it's not like, oh, vectors attack humans and make more vectors, and if the vectors stopped attacking humans, then there wouldn't be any more vectors and humans wouldn't attack them. It's like, nope, researchers are still making more. You know what I mean? And like, I mean, granted, then if they wouldn't be getting killed, the vectors wouldn't be getting killed if they didn't keep attacking Theta, but there'd still be more of them. And eventually the cycle would continue because, yes, okay, all the ones that are living in Tau or that we're leading there, okay, but there's still vectors out in the wild that they don't know about, so Theta keeps dumping more vectors into the wild who are just not now going to be like, oh, okay, we'll take you to the shelter. You know what I mean? They're like the feral cats out there. You know what I mean? It's like, then they're just going to keep attacking. So the cycle's not going to stop because it's not like, we have 50 vectors, we've stopped them from attacking. Yeah, but there's still vectors. Yeah, because that's because Theta keeps making more and more motherfucking vectors that keep attacking and then making more. And then, you know, like, if Theta doesn't stop making vectors, the cycle's never going to stop, to be fair. Both for you and me. Huh? Wait, does that mean we should start heading home? Ibuki cut off the conversation and turned to go. He clearly didn't feel like talking anymore. Something else I have to know? I'm curious, but I don't think he's up to telling me. I was afraid of what I might find out, what other truths were going to surface. Come this far, can't back down now. I gotta finish what I started. And to Ibuki's, this obviously hits home for him and makes him very sad because he, knows what they're, people were experimented on and turned into vectors, and, he's been experimented on his whole fucking life. He's just lucky that he didn't turn into one of these. You know what I mean? And what's wrong? Are you tired? No, let's go back. It hurt to turn my back on Theta and leave again, especially when it was so close. I can never go home again. We didn't have to issue any commands to the vectors. They just started following us. And, you could say, well, they're close to people. There's people in Tau, but there's not a lot of people in Tau. And to be fair, Ibuki is kind of in between a person and a vector. Hyuga and Yukonami are more vector than human, to be, fair. So, that might not, the vectors being around them is it's kind of like being around one of me, but a weird version of me, and then there's me and Lizzie. But now Lizzie is also more vector. And again, we are also not normal humans. Nobody here, except for maybe the professor, is a normal human. So they may not see us as that, oh, okay, well, there's people here. And even if they did see the 5 of us as people, there's only 5 of us and there's a bunch of you know what I mean? So it's not the same. We made it. Even though we walked back to Tau instead of running, I still felt exhausted. It was a long haul at any speed. You look tired. You could have accepted my offer to carry you partway. There was no need to hurry back, and I would have felt like a burden if you carried me. We're here, and that's all that matters. The walk back took so long, it was now way past noon. We were out for quite a while, and I left without saying anything to Lizzie. If she's woken up, she's probably worried. Ibuki, I'm going back to my room for a bit. I want to make sure Lizzie's okay. As we headed back to the building where I was staying, Ibuki spoke up. In that case, come with me. But I have to go see Lizzie. You will in a moment. Don't worry. Bring lunch back to her. Are you sure? You're not about to take me on another multi-hour walk, are you? Oh, now you doubt me. I had you pegged as someone easy to fool. I'm relieved to learn that you do care about your own self-preservation. Is that supposed to be a compliment? I stared at Ibuki and wondered what he actually thought of me. Ibuki beckoned, unfazed as ever by my clueless stare. We won't go far. Please come along. Ibuki led me to the courtyard where we ate dinner yesterday evening. Ah, Hyuga's cooking again. I guess he really does prepare meals every day. Hey, Hyuga. Hello. Yo. I joined Ibuki in greeting Hyuga, but he just seemed annoyed by it all. At least he responded. Ibuki, you been outside? Yeah, not too far. I wouldn't describe that trip as not too far. It's no big deal. Can we grab some food? Sure. It's just ready now. Ibuki accepted 2 trays from Hyuga and held them both out to me. Here you go. One for you, one for Lizzie. Now I realize why Ibuki wanted to bring me here. I knew. He was like, first come with me. Lunch. He wanted to get food for me and Lizzie. He could have said so at least. Oh well. I knew what he was thinking. I got cryptic boyfriend. I appreciated Ibuki. I thanked him as I took the trays. Can you make your way from here? Sure, I have the way memorized now. I'll be fine. Also... Thanks for providing food for us. Oh, sure. Anytime. Well, I'm headed back then. See you later. I returned to the room where Lizzie was waiting, taking care not to spill dinner. This is lunch, bitch. Anyway... we're a little under time, but I'll stop here because it's a good enough place. So I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.